Hey everybody, Dog8798 here. This is my review of TNA Slammiversary 2015. I'm about to watch the encore again. This pay-per-view was awesome, just like in 2012. TNA managed to turn an ordinary Impact episode into a box office pay-per-view. This right here was an awesome pay-per-view for TNA. On paper, it looked like much. The main event, the King of the Mountain, was the main event, the King of the Mountain, was the was worth the price of admission. Everything else could have been on Impact. This pay-per-view was awesome. This pay-per-view right here was awesome. The first match of the night. Of course, the show started off with them showing past highlights from TNA, pretty much using the same intro package from last year. From last year, they even said 13 years, even though it's technically no, that right, it is yeah, right, it is 13 years. It is 13 years. Yeah, but other than the 13 years update, they use the same package as last year. And the only problem I had with this show, before I get off the bat, because everything about this show was awesome. The only problem I had with this show was um the show was in the Impact Zone. I expected them to be in Dallas. I expected them to be in Dallas, but the only problem I had was that it was in the Impact Zone. But other than that, show was awesome. The show started off with the X Division title match between Manic, defending champion, Tigre Uno, and DJZ. DJZ. This was an awesome X Division match, awesome X Division elimination match to start the show. Tigre Uno won by eliminating both DJZ first and Manic with the corkscrew moonsault off, corkscrew leg drop off the top rope to retain his championship. The next match of the night was Robbie E taking on Mr. Spectacular, Jesse Goddard. This was and also this was an awesome fight. I'm finally happy. As much as I enjoyed this tag team, I'm finally happy that this tag team is over. Now Jesse Goddard, who is a really awesome independent wrestler, he was a wrestler in OVW. He was on Big Brother, but he was a wrestler himself in OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling. And Robbie E was an awesome wrestler on the independent circuit, but got stuck with this crappy Jersey Shore gimmick. So it's good to see these two go out and show why they're two while they can be two of the best wrestlers on the roster. This right here was an awesome match. Both of these men told a story in the ring. I wasn't paying attention at the finish, but I know Robbie E won. But like I said, awesome match, man. The next match of the night was the next the next match of the night was the next match of the night was what was the next match of the night? What was the next match of the night? There was that match. Hold on, I can pull it up. Um, so much excitement, man, that I can't even remember the pay per view, man. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right here, man. But so much excitement from this pay per view. A pay per view that I didn't even expect to be good, but so much excitement from a pay per view I didn't even expect to be good. But this right here was an awesome show from TNA. The show was so awesome. It sucks that a couple of wrestlers, James Storm, Austin Aries, and Magnus are like leaving. But but um but yeah, so like I said, awesome pay-per-view. Oh yes, the third match of the night was the street fight between Bram and Matt Morgan. This right here was another awesome match. Another thing I loved about this pay-per-view before I continue on with this match was that every match was unique and different. Something I've not seen from a pay-per-view in a long time. Every match was unique and different. Bram defeated Matt Morgan in a street fight. Defeated Matt Morgan in a street fight by DDTing him by hitting the Bram DDT on the chair, the implant DDT on the chair. The next match was Austin Aries versus Davey Richards. Technical perfection right here. Another awesome match. Whereas pretty much the first two matches you saw were the first three matches. The first match you saw was a spot fest technical lucha libre X division match. The second match you saw was what the second two matches, Robbie E and Jesse Goddard and Bram and Matt Morgan were straight up fights. This right here was a technical match with lots of exciting back and forth action. The match ended when Robert Roode tried to interfere in the match. Eddie Edwards came out and dropped Robert Roode on the off the apron, and Austin Aries used this opportunity to pin Davey Richards with a schoolboy to win the match. Thus, he gets to pick the stipulation for the tag team title match. And at the end, after joking about a bra and panty match, he later jokes around and says they will fight in a 30-minute Iron Man match because the Dirty Wolves said they're the best tag team in the world. The next match of the night, I didn't care much for this. I went and made a sandwich during this match, and that's Awesome Kong and Brooke versus the Dollhouse, Taryn Terrell and Jade Marty Bell. I don't remember much from this match. It was a good match from what I was watching. According to the match, I think the stipulation was if Awesome Kong and Brooke won, they get a title shot against Taryn Terrell's titles. They beat the Dollhouse. I don't remember the finish, and I really don't care. Like I said, I just don't care for women's wrestling. TNA has done so much to has burned bridges with all the top knockouts, and they have no knockout wants to be associated with this company. So and I don't like Awesome Kong or Angelina Love for several reasons. I may do an individual video on that why I don't like either one of them. I said so in my salute of TNA in 2014 and 15 video. The next match of the night was James Storm versus Magnus in the non-sanctioned match. I've not really cared for the Magnus James Storm feud. The only thing I liked about this feud was it was elevating Magnus, who is one of your probably youngest best stars because he's English, and TNA has a huge following. They have their biggest fan base in Europe. So but this right here, this was an awesome match. This fight went all over the arena. This fight went all over the arena, including one segment where I think one of them ran one of the other wrestlers into something, and they both caused the lights to flicker out, and the production team and the production on the pay-per-view to go bad. But this was an awesome match. The only thing I don't like was the finish. It ended in such an anticlimactic fashion after all this action, which included Magnus hitting an elbow on Storm through the table and powerbombing Storm through the table. It ended with a beer bottle, with Storm hitting Magnus with a beer bottle. Yeah. The next match, of course, was Ethan Carter III and Tyrus versus Lashley and Mr. Anderson in an awesome tag team match. The match ends after Lashley spears Tyrus. Ethan Carter hits his finisher on Lashley for the 1-2-3, thus remaining undefeated. I like how at the beginning of the match, Anderson, instead of doing his announcement, he wanted to get right down to business and told Christy Hemme to do it. And Lashley came out rocking the Bellator gear. Like I said, awesome match. The main event. What this pretty much, which was worth the price of admission for this pay-per-view, which was worth this main event was awesome. Jeff Jarrett versus Matt Hardy versus Eric Young and Drew Galloway and Bobby Roode in the returning King of the Mountain match to determine the inaugural TNA King of the Mountain Championship. This was the title. I read somewhere on TNAWrestlingNews.com that this was the title TNA was going to introduce, and this was just an awesome match. I think it was I forgot who qualified first, but I know Jeff Jarrett was pinned and had to go in the penalty box twice, including once by, I forgot who the first guy to pin him was, but the second guy was definitely the second guy was Eric Young DDTing him on the outside of the ring and having him pinned. Then of course later in the match, Matt Hardy pinned Drew Galloway to pin Drew Galloway to win the qualify. Then I think Robert Roode, then I remember Jeff Jarrett finally pinning who was it? Who did he? Oh yeah, Robert Roode. He pinned Robert Roode to finally qualify. And I forgot who Bobby Roode beat to qualify. But this was just an awesome match, back and forth. Jeff Jarrett won the match by hanging the title on top of the ladder, thus becoming the inaugural King of the Mountain champion. They said, TNAWrestlingNews.com, that said Jeff Jarrett's return wasn't just a return, it was going to lead to something bigger down the road. And this right here, like I said, was an awesome show. The only problems I have was that this whole show took place in the Impact Zone. This was a pay-per-view quality event, and I wanted TNA to make some money. They can't make money if this pay-per-view is at a touring event in Orlando, Florida, at the Impact Zone. I wanted TNA to make some money. Then, of course, this pay-per-view was so awesome. I'm disappointed to hear that Austin Aries, James Storm, and Magnus, that this is one of their final events. These guys, after a couple of more tapings, these guys will be done with TNA. Their contracts expired after. That's sad to see, especially Magnus. Austin Aries and James Storm, it sucks to lose them too, but they're old. But Magnus, on the other hand, is one of your younger stars, and not only younger stars, one of your English stars, where you have a huge fan base. Mark Andrews, Rockstar Spud, and it's Magnus. These are the wrestlers who needed to be pushed the most, because Europe is where TNA. That's where you're actually beating WWE in the European market. There, because Europe, that's a more wrestling oriented company. That's country, not company, country. So it's sad that they will be leaving after this awesome pay-per-view. TNA turned, just like in 2012, which a lot of people consider to be one of TNA's best years. They turned the Slammiversary 2012 event, which on paper looked like an episode, a 3-hour episode of Impact. They transformed that into a box office pay-per-view. Well, without TNA Slammiversary 2012 was one of the best pay-per-views I had ever seen, and this right here was just like it. They turned a bunch of matches that you would probably see on Impact into pay-per-view quality matches, with of course the main event being the match being worth the $50 that TNA forced you to pay to see this event. Like I said, man, awesome event. If Bound for Glory is good this year, I'm thinking about ordering it again. All right, Dug Out.